no Kyrie Irving, young guys, not a ton of experience at all. How were the Celtics able to overcome everything they did to win this series?
The only thing you didn't mention, Jenna, is they're really talented. They got some talented players. So yes, they don't have their two most talented players, but they have a talented roster. They've caught lightning in a bottle with their young players, 21-year-old Jaylen Brown, 20-year-old Jason Tatum. They didn't know. If you tell the Celtics, hey, man, Tatum, he's going to be a knockdown shooter. Really? Scored 20 points 7 games in a row in the playoffs. Really? Jaylen Brown, he's going to develop intermediate game. He's going to develop a three-point shot.
Yeah. After
being very one-dimensional as a first-year player. They call lightning in the bottle. They have a great system that the team has installed, that they're like, it can be the next guy up. And what I like about Brad Stevens, what he does is, when you fill in for another player, they appropriate a certain number of shots that go with that position. Typically, we see a guy fill in for something, they expected him not to shoot. If he's a 2, they expect him not to get the same shots that the 2 got, the 3 got. But in Boston, it's been interchangeable where they expect you to shoot. Even their worst shooter, in Marcus Smart, they encourage him to shoot because what it does is open up the court, and you have to make people defend the three-point line. So that's what they do besides their great defense. When you can be a top 5 team in defense in the NBA, you can win 40 games just on that. And I believe their young players, the way they develop, you got to give the coaching staff and the front office with Boston a lot of credit. Tatum, Brown, Rozier coming on, emerging.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot predict the overall growth of how much these players have developed.
I'm glad you mentioned the talent part of it, because when I was talking about the Brad Stevens and some of the maybe unspoken bitterness other coaches have towards the way he's talked about, the point that's been made to me is, y'all need to stop acting like Boston doesn't have talent. You guys need to stop acting like Boston, because they lost their 2 most talented players, that they're just some bare cupboard. They had back-to-back top 3 picks who have developed into guys that not only deserve that draft position, but maybe in Jason Tatum's case, a higher draft position. Al Horford, while he's never put up the gaudiest counting stats, is one of the best big man defenders as far as a smart team defense standpoint. And he is, as we've seen in this series, he can really give fits to a great defender in Joel Embiid. Now, I don't think anyone saw Terry Rozier all of a sudden averaging 17 points a game in a playoff series. That's the one where it's like, wow, where did that come from? But these other guys were there's a reason Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were consensus top 5 picks, and that Al Horford had multiple teams offering him a max contract when he signed with Boston.
If that's the case, then why did everyone have the Sixers winning this? Why were the Sixers favored to win this? Why was it all, well, the Sixers are going to run right over the Celtics?
The Sixers were the hottest team in the NBA. They won 20 of 21. The Sixers, since Christmas Day, had been playing at a super level, and then even without Joel Embiid, they had maintained that level, and they were coming together, they were healthy, and we just thought, like, the Sixers, we thought their top-line talent, we thought the best two young players on the court, or I did, would be Embiid and Simmons. The best young player on the court was Jason Tatum.
Yeah, and Boston offensively, we know they're challenged. They were better offensively than we expected. And, Jenna, people have to look at it. Sometimes we don't know what we're talking about. All right?
That can't be it. What's the other option?
Jenna, sometimes we don't know what is going to happen. In the Boston series, you would not think they're going to win Game 1 and Game number 2. Nick gave you the stats earlier as far as Philadelphia, the opportunities they had in 3 of the 4 games to be able to snatch those games. They lost those games.
Right.
They lost all of those games. So that becomes important, winning tight games. And for a young team, Philadelphia, they're inexperienced. Boston probably has maybe a little more experience than them, but both teams are inexperienced. That's why the inexperience kind of negated itself.
And while a 7-game series is a decent sample size, you are also sometimes victim to outlier performances. Aaron Baines, in this playoff run, has made more threes than he had made in his entire NBA career prior to this season. Marcus Smart, who you mentioned, they let him shoot even though he's a terrible shooter. Historically speaking, he is the single worst high-volume three-point shooter in the history of professional basketball. He shoots 39% from 3 this series. Like, that's going to when those guys all of a sudden are hitting their shots, and Marcus Morris is the one that shot 39% from 3, but Marcus Smart, you saw it in Game 3. All of a sudden, he's hitting key threes And when 3 games come down to the wire, you win all 3 of those games. That's how these types of things happen. And we discounted the importance of home court. Boston hadn't lost at home in the first round.
Right.
4-0 at home in the first round.
Yeah.
0-3. They didn't lose at home in this round.
So what does all this say about Kyrie Irving and how much the team needs or doesn't need him?
Oh, now listen, they don't have nobody on that team like Kyrie Irving. We have seen Kyrie Irving at every level of the playoffs be spectacular. They don't have nobody on their roster can go for 40. They don't have nobody who can match Golden State.
But do they need, if they're divvying up the points the way they are?
If they play against the West tonight, they're going to get smacked 4 games in a row. So let's not get carried away with who Boston is and the players that Kyrie Irving is and Gordon Hayward. Their future looks bright, but let's not get carried away. This Celtics team, if they were able to get to the Cavs, it would be probably one of the most lopsided series in the finals we've seen in a long time.
If they were you're saying if they get through the Cavs and play the Warriors or the Rockets, I understand. Listen, every team's better with Kyrie than without Kyrie. He's one of the 12 best basketball players alive. I recognize that. But I also think that this year, would the Celtics have been the 1 seed if Kyrie had played the final 20 games? No, they were going to be the 2 seed either way. Would the Celtics have beaten Philadelphia quicker if Kyrie were out there? No, I don't think you could have beat them much quicker than 5 games. Against the top competition. Now, listen, we'll see how they play against Cleveland. If they get beat up against Cleveland, as I anticipate they will, that's where Kyrie's value will be shown. But, I mean, I understand the question because you look at Kyrie and you say, okay, so the team that lost Kyrie is in the conference finals in Cleveland. And the team that traded for Kyrie is in the conference finals without him in Boston.
I'm not going to let no one hate on Kyrie. Kyrie is an amazing player, and he's done it at the highest level. You guys think there's pressure? Ain't no pressure the second round. The way Kyrie Irving has done it with LeBron against Golden State, oh, right there. Kyrie Irving is a special, special player, and that's why Boston... that was one of the great moves that they made, even more significant than even drafting Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
Let me ask you one thing, because I'm not hating on Kyrie, and I recognize that he is, as far as a shot creator, as good as there is in the league. I'm on the record saying I think he is. I think there's 2 skills he has that are as good as anyone in NBA history, his ball handling and his below-the-rim finishing. But if he's playing instead of Rozier, do you agree their team defense takes a step back?
Yeah, I think we equate too much to that. You say the same thing when they put Steph in. Yeah, but we got a hell of a lot better offensively. Well, how many times I'm going to go down the court on the offensive end? You're worried about me going down the court on the defensive end. What it also does is it exhausts the defense because you got to stop this guy. So I don't like to use that formula. Well, with the backup guy should be better at defense. There's a reason why he's the backup.
Fair enough. I understand that part of it. I don't.
It's not like I don't see the gain. Like you're getting some. It's not like you're getting some 5. The guy's going to block 5 shots a game. Guy going to get you 4 steals a game.
No, but it's more. It's less about, to me, and I guess it's.
You know what makes it better?
Hold on. It's less about whether or not Rozier is a huge plus defensively, and more about how much of a negative do you think Kyrie is defensively. But go ahead.
I think Kyrie, I would much rather have him on the court and what he can do for my offense than be concerned. This ain't no great defensive league. Like, we just now started talking about playing defense in the playoffs. We see what they do. We see what Harden does. We see what LeBron does to get through the regular season. And Kyrie Irving is no different. His difference is he's challenged by size.
All right, this is a good topic. We will discuss this with C.J. McCollum, who will join us to break down this and